inherited a house from a grandmother I never knew existed, and discovered my entire family had been living a lie for 40 years. The thick envelope arrived on a Tuesday, certified mail requiring my signature. In reply was a letter from an unknown law firm informing me that I had inherited a house savings account and personal items from my maternal grandmother, Eleanor Wright. The problem: I'd been told my entire life that both my maternal grandparents died before I was born. According to the document, Eleanor Wright had passed away 3 weeks ago at age 87. She had lived alone in a coastal town 4 hours from where I grew up, and had specifically named me her only grandchild as her sole beneficiary. Attached was a copy of my grandmother's will with a handwritten note: "To Melissa, who deserves to know the truth." When I called my mother about this strange inheritance, her long silence was telling. She finally admitted that Eleanor Wright was indeed my grandmother. She hadn't died in a car accident with my grandfather, as I'd been told. That was a story they created after a terrible falling out when my mother was 20. When she met my father, she found it easier to say her parents were dead than explain the truth. The following weekend, I drove to the coastal town. The estate attorney met me at the house, a modest bungalow overlooking the ocean. Family photos lined the walls, and I found myself staring at a woman who shared my features. On her mantle were my school photos from elementary through high school graduation and my wedding. She had been collecting images of my life from afar. In her office, I found a leather-bound journal with my name on the cover. Implied Eleanor revealed that my mother had discovered documents showing her father wasn't her biological father. Eleanor had a brief affair early in her marriage. When my mother found out at 20, she cut all ties. My grandfather, the only father she'd ever known, died of a heart attack 6 months later. My mother blamed Eleanor for his death, and it became easier to tell people Eleanor was dead too. Eleanor wrote that she had respected my mother's wishes to stay away, but had kept track of me through a kind neighbor and closed for unsent birthday cards, newspaper clippings of my achievements, and a silver locket containing photos of my mother as a child and me as a baby. I spent the weekend examining the life of this grandmother I never knew. Sexton albums showed my mother's seemingly happy childhood. I also found dozens of letters Eleanor had written to my mother over the years, all returned unopened. When I returned home, I confronted my mother with the journal and locket. She was initially angry, claiming she was trying to protect me. Our conversation revealed her pain, feeling that every memory was suddenly false after discovering the truth about her father. She couldn't face Eleanor without thinking about how her father had raised her as his own. We talked for hours that day about grief, betrayal, and secrets carried too long. My mother finally acknowledged the decades of reconciliation attempts she had rejected. 6 months later, we stood together at Eleanor's grave. My mother traced the engraved name with her fingers, apologizing for wasting so much time. "The house by the ocean is mine now. I spend summers there with my husband and our baby daughter, whom we named Eleanor." On the walls are photos of 4 generations of women from our family, complicated, imperfect women connected by something stronger than mistakes. Sometimes at night, rocking my daughter to sleep, I tell her about her great-grandmother who watched over our family from a distance, waiting for the day when truth would finally set us all free.